think I'm running almost maybe like a high point suspension setup, depending on how the track shapes up. Said possibly some rain this weekend.
Possibly some rain, but I feel like New York this time of year, every year at Unadilla, there's always the chance or the threat of rain. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it doesn't. I feel like more often than not, it chooses to not rain during the time that we're racing, and it usually shapes up to be pretty good. Honey Point is, again, kind of in a similar boat. Like, we saw rain, like it just downpoured on Friday. Track was pretty sloppy and muddy on Saturday, and eventually ended up being a pretty good race in both 250 and 450 classes, but we might see something pretty similar this coming Saturday at Unadilla.
Yeah, I'm seeing some similarities, remembering just how deep the ruts can get at Unadilla, depending on just the conditions leading up to the race and just the conditions that day as well, weather-wise. And we see that same similarity at High Point also. Where, I mean, ruts always form, but let's say more the length of the rut. When it's really wet, the rut's going to go almost from corner all the way to the next corner. On more drier days, the ruts are what? In the corner and then maybe in some straight sections.
I think you're spot on with that. And, you know, it's been a couple weekends off since Washougal. It feels like an eternity. We've been hard at work and just A, having fun, and then B, hard at work on Stark Varg development.
We have. That's been
very
fun. Successful
first day out at Fox Raceway. We're going back for seconds this weekend, I think. So it's going to be a good time. We've had a lot of fun over the past couple off weekends, but we're back with the preview show, Unadilla preview show.
We've kept busy.
Yeah, we've been busy, and there's some new players entering the arena, if you will.
Yeah, about time, man. Getting that kind of full field of heavy hitters. By that I mean like past champions, guys that we just know when they show up on the gate, there's a chance they could always win.
Two-time Pro Motocross 450 class champion Ken Roczen on an RMZ 450. Had phenomenal performances at Unadilla before, so he's no stranger to winning at Unadilla and on an RMZ 450.
Yeah, he's that type that can get inspired, I don't want to say randomly, but by certain things, and he will ride not above his level, but at a level we don't often see. And for some reason, it seems like this might be one of those races. Like, he's just excited to come back and just really jonesing to go do it.
Yeah, he often rises to the occasion.
Yes.
I think of like High Point last year. He just, you know, it's Father's Day weekend, just jump off the couch, have some fun, bring the family. And he goes up and almost wins both motos. I mean, I know he stalled it towards the end and when he crashed and this and that during Moto 1, I believe. But, you know, he got second overall and he led the second most laps in the 2023 season and only raced one race. Pretty crazy, right? Like,
that is a good
it's just
stat.
Pretty crazy. And I think, you know, watching his performances at Des Nations last year in Ernay, France, he won the MXGP class, took Jet Lawrence down to the wire for that Super Motocross Championship, not only at Chicago, but at LA as well. So I think Ken Roczen, I mean, I called him for a win a couple weeks ago. I'm sticking with my pick. I think the 94, rain or shine, is my pick for Unadilla.
Yeah, you are spot on, man. Really good characterization and summary. Ken Roczen seems to be the guy that always steps up to the challenge no matter what, and seemingly does it with a smile as well. Like, cool,
for sure,
bring it on. I know the injuries weren't something he probably planned on or would have hoped to encounter, but it goes to show also he's just like, bring on the challenge. I'll figure out a way to make this work. And man, I'm excited to watch him race.
The sport is so much better with a 94 on the gate. But also, Cooper Webb is back. So he was on the entry list as well. That's a guy that you can't forget about. Multi-time Supercross champion. I don't think his outdoors results are as, let's say, up to par, let's say, with his Supercross results. But overall, it's nice to see Coop back out on the gate. And it's been a long time since we've seen him race Pro Motocross aboard a YZ450F. I think his last one was Ironman all the way back in 2018.
Yeah, I think Cooper's probably still looking to get the results and wins that he had in the 250 class with the 2 championships in there.
Yep.
We quite have not seen that type of riding yet in the 450 class for him. He definitely strikes me as somebody capable of doing it. If there's a guy that has a lot of grit, it's Cooper Webb, like in spades. So yeah, that's another fun guy to watch to see how he's doing this weekend. I hope he's had a very good, let's say, training camp up to this point, meaning time on the bike, working out, exercising, getting the bike ready, working with the team. So I hope he's had a really good kind of off-season and training camp leading up to this weekend.
Yeah, he's had a few weeks under his belt now, so I think, you know, maybe some fitness is going to lack just because you can do 30-plus twos all day at the practice track or at the test track, but it's so different when you go and race. And I think maybe fitness might play into it a little bit, but, you know, he's had another Cooper, Justin Cooper, developing that YZ450F all season long, so I think he's rolling in.
New York
native. Probably, yeah, who's a New York native. We'll get to him in a little bit. And I think Cooper Webb is rolling into this weekend with a pretty comfy setup and looking to post a solid top 5 result.
He can, man. I wanted to ask, do you think the 2 weeks off has helped Plessinger's motivation from his almost win at Washougal, or do you think that's maybe given him some time to kind of let the motivation of the fire kind of die down a little bit and not have it be, it's one thing to race and then go race the next weekend. Now we've had some time off. I wonder if that's still in him, like the whole like, fuck, I should have won that race. I was right there. I hope he brings it to this weekend, but do you think that carries over?
I think it does. Yeah, we've seen him ride really well at Unadilla. I think back to 2021 where he looped out. I mean, he was chasing Ken Roczen for that moto win and was riding unreal that day. And I think we're going to see something similar out of Aaron this weekend as well. Rain or shine, that's a guy who's a dual threat. GNCC experience, he can ride the mud, he's tall, long legs, so I mean, long, deep, gnarly ruts are going to be really an issue for him. And yeah, I think he carries some of that over a bit, but I also think Aaron is such a happy-go-lucky guy that doesn't affect him negatively through the weeks. I mean, sure, does it weigh on the mind? I'm sure it does. But at the same time, I feel like he's such a fun-loving, light person that he can move on from it quite easily. And I think these 2 weekends off were probably good for him. Spend time with the family, chill for after a long Supercross and Motocross season.
Yeah.
Maybe spin some laps and develop the bike a little bit more for this Unadilla track.
Where's he at in points? The reason I ask is, does he have a gap to where he's going to be able to just ride his last few races and really just let it hang out and just kind of however cards fall, he still gets a good finish? Or is he pretty close with some people to where he needs to keep getting some top finishes to maintain his overall spot and finish for the championship?
Yeah, I want to say he's pretty close to Justin Cooper, right around that 3rd or 4th spot.
Really?
I'll go ahead and throw up the point standings up on the screen now so you guys can see as well. But obviously Chase Sexton out front. He's got quite a bit of a healthy lead over Hunter Lawrence now. Hunter's kind of fallen back. Then I want to say it's Jay Coop and Aaron Plessinger kind of in that 3rd, 4th spot. Touch on Chase Sexton. I like what you talked about with Aaron Plessinger on if this 2-weekend break was good for him. I almost thought this 2 weekends off was bad for Chase in the sense, just because he's got 7 consecutive moto wins. When you're on that roll, you don't want to stop that momentum. Not saying that he's going to go into this weekend, let's say off the ball or sluggish or anything like that, but why take a break? And when you're just on a roll.
Yeah, I see that. I think he takes that momentum and just turns it into testing and just goes, you guys, things are going great. Let's see how we can keep getting this bike better. Not saying that he's not happy with the bike. I have no information to know otherwise, but he just strikes us as a guy that is always, how do we get better? So he's utilized this time well. And if he's been riding that good on the KTM with the setup they've been racing on, and now he's had 2 weeks to possibly fine-tune it and make it even better for him, then we could see a very dangerous Chase Sexton with even more confidence for it. But yeah, you're right. That could really play either way. I hope during the 2 weeks he used that downtime well, and if they had any things they wanted to work on bike-wise, they were able to do that and at least get some results. As we've learned, testing doesn't always mean results. You may learn something, but it may not be in the direction you want to go, improvement-wise. But I'm thinking things are just going well for him, and they're just utilizing that momentum. So hopefully they tested more, got him even more comfy on the bike, and he is just ready to go, chomping at the bit.
It seems like he's well on his way to his first 450 Pro Motocross Championship. With such on Hunter Lawrence, he's kind of slid back since that Redbud crash. Said he's going to go get some blood work done over the break. And for Hunter Lawrence, this break couldn't have been timed any better. You need to stop the bleeding, regroup, and roll into these last 3 rounds, looking to make up points on Chase every single moto.
Yeah, and with him going for the championship, I could see him riding almost in the sense of he has nothing to lose. Because I think for him, getting second is not pay-wise, I get that. But for what he wants, second, third, fourth, he can almost care. If it's not first, he hasn't won it. So he could be a very dangerous guy these last few rounds if he just hangs it out. With what you just said, man, he could come back just firing on all cylinders this weekend, really looking to prove a point. I think that's going to be Chase's biggest competition come this weekend.
I like it. Yeah, that's very well said. And it's a very well likely possibility that could happen. And, we've seen Hunter Lawrence not only push his brother Jet for moto wins and overalls, but also Chase. I think for Hunter, he needs to beat Chase every single moto from here on out. The snowball can roll either way, very quickly. And, we saw Hunter with the red plate earlier in the season. And, since Chase has gotten the red plate, he hasn't really looked back. And, you know, I think if Hunter Lawrence is able to go out and just either beat Chase or just go out and straight up get the moto win, I think that's going to do huge wonders for his confidence moving on to these last 3 rounds. And I think it's going to be game on between those two, really.
Do you think Hunter is at any disadvantage training not having his brother there?
Oof. Yeah, I mean, I would think so, just because it's so part of the routine to have Jet there and to take him out of the loop. Hunter's probably like, you know, I don't have someone to chase or someone to chase me.
Yeah.
Not saying that, you know, obviously he's training partners with Drew Adams, who's an amateur who will be racing the final round at Ironman. Chance Hymas is down there riding. He has other athletes to train with, but I do think when you pull the one out of the mix, that it does disrupt some of the normal routine a little bit.
Yeah, good call on the routine, man. That is really important, especially when you're performing at that level. People performing like that, often they rely on routine in a good way, because they know if things change, they can look at what changed in my routine to possibly be the issue or the reason for this change. For source is what I was looking for the word. We'll do it. That's probably wraps up 450s for us.
I think so, man. Yeah, just touch on Jason Anderson, Justin Cooper real quick. I think those guys are going to be right there. Justin Cooper, home state, home track. I think we're going to see some great things out of the 32. He's got a moto podium. He's ran up front, led laps. And, you know, I could see that happening this weekend.
Yeah, man. I agree. And then it seems like Jason Anderson's in that same spot as well. We can almost pencil him in for a 4th overall every round, which is just, again, really impressive consistency-wise, because he's putting himself up there. And I think he's ready to battle these last couple weekends, and it's going to be probably tougher than ever. You got the top dogs trying to get the first 1 and 2 spots, as always, and everybody else trying to really lock in their final standings for the championship these last couple of rounds. And this is probably where we're going to see some, not upsets, but maybe big point swings. Like you said, the snowball's been going one way, but it could definitely get going the other way. If Ryder has a DNF or just a bad race and finishes not in the top 20.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of snowball, everything seems to be rolling in the direction of Hayden Deegan this season.
Yeah.
If he crashes, he still ends up winning the moto or the overall. He ends up being physically okay. If he has an off weekend, he ends up making points on his competitors somehow. It almost seems like the 38 can't do any wrong.
No, good for him, man. I mean, a lot of it seems, God, what do they say? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Ooh, I like it. Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of, not to say other people aren't working as hard as him, but the dude's putting in the work. A lot of times that seems just to kind of go in their favor, like the snowball. Just you're putting in the effort and things are going your way. I think Ricky Carmichael talked about a lot, about how just the hard work often ensures good results, and good results ensure good starts. Good starts get you away from first turn pileups. All these kind of, I won't say small details, but details that really matter. And he's really seemed to have them all accounted for. And we've talked about just the good resources he has in terms of his family, his team, his mechanic, the bike that he's on. Like, he's got the whole picture done just right.
Yeah, for sure. I think of, you know, when it's your year, it's your year. And it's almost like nothing can go wrong, kind of like what I was saying. And, you know, obviously in this, especially in this sport, things can change at the drop of a dime. Hayden has more than earned it, you know, not only with the hard work that he's putting in, but also the results. Yeah. And, you know, I think it's 54 points, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head. He's a full round. I mean, he can take a weekend off. He can take another weekend off if he really wants to.
Right.
I don't think he will, but I think he comes into Unadilla, and, you know, you can pencil him in for a 1-1 easily.
Yeah, I think so, man. That's going to be hard to say no to. It was cool to see Tom Vialle get the moto win on him, first moto at Washougal, but second moto, we went right back to what we've come very
almost accustomed.
Yeah, accustomed to seeing.
Yeah, I think I like what you touched on with Tom. I think we're going to see a very similar performance out of him. Run up front, challenge Hayden. Is it going to beat him? I mean, that could very well happen. But for Tom, you know, again, we've talked about it before. His summer has just not gone the direction we all saw it going in after winning the Supercross championship. I think for Tom, you know, just get some solid results under your belt to roll into 2025 Supercross, to defend your title with a lot of momentum, and then, you know, roll into 2025 Outdoors and really make a bid for that title. Yeah,
he's got some tough competition. And as you talked about that, it kind of dawned on me that, yeah, he may beat Dangerboy first moto, but Hayden seems like the type of rider that if you beat him, he's coming back even harder second moto. He's not going, oh man, today's just not my day. He's going to have to beat Hayden more than a few times, just kind of straight up, to maybe to get him not to come back as hard second moto and almost be, don't say submissive, but like let him be the alpha in it. But you just don't really see that happen with Hayden. The only way to do that is you just have to beat him multiple times to really make him kind of question himself and think, all right, I guess Tom's got me.
Yeah.
But so in other words, Tom's got some really stiff competition, because if he beats him first moto, he's got to come back even harder second moto, because Hayden's going to come back likely even trying harder second moto as well. And that's a tough dude to race against.
Yeah, the two guys that I'm really wondering about how they're going to perform coming off of Washougal and heading into Unadilla is Levi Kitchen and Chance Hymas.
Yes.
Obviously, we saw Chance struggle a lot with that injury he picked up at Millville and that first turn pile up. Big bummer to see that, just because Chance has been riding really well all season long. Got his first overall. Super stoked to see that. First moto win this season as well. And that's a guy that you just don't want to count out for a moto win or a podium. And, you know, again, another guy that this break was perfectly timed for. Rest up, let that ankle and that foot heal a little bit, hopefully come back, if not 100%, maybe close to 100% at Unadilla.
Yeah, agreed, man. Ever since kind of his breakout ride at Lakewood, he's just been having a great season. Definitely been having finishes that I thought Levi would be having. Just because, again, we talked about his first series race at Paula was awesome.
Yep.
Levi was right there. So it really gave us that thinking that, man, he is going to be that second place guy, which I still think he is. He just had a tough series so far. I think just quite not going his way, the exception of the one race.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he came out in Millville and absolutely earned that 1-1 in dominating fashion. And, you know, those are the type of rides that I think Levi expects out of himself, the team. All of us, fans, media, I think it can happen on any given day. But also, you know, I kind of want to cut him some slack, because this is his first year with the Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki. First year racing that KX50 outdoors. Granted, he did great aboard the same bike in Supercross. You know, there is a learning curve to it.
Yeah, you know, good point, man.
The last three, you know, we could see some phenomenal performances out of Levi, or we could see kind of some of the mediocre to not so good performances that we've seen from Levi throughout the rest of the summer. So I hope to see him do very well. He was my pick for the Supercross Championship. I think he's going to be my pick heading into 2025 Supercross as well. I like what I'm seeing from the chef. I also just watched a video on my lunch break with him riding a two-stroke around Washougal. Super rad.
Yeah?
So
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's a must check it out. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it. It's a good time.
Good insight on that, man. I did kind of forget that it is his first year on the Kawasaki, and it is different switching bikes. The confidence he must have going into Supercross coming up, knowing, okay, I was on this bike last year, here's how it felt, here's where we left off. He'll have that same confidence next year going into motocross. I kind of relate that to riding a new track for the first time. First day you go there, you still ride the track, you do most of the jumps, you'll still ride it, but when you go to that same track the second time, your lap time is way faster, just because you already know your lines, you're already comfortable, you're already confident. So way to point that out. He's only going to keep getting better on this bike as he gets more and more comfortable and confident on this platform.
You know, we've discussed suspension setup, we've discussed 250 class, we've discussed 450 class. It's the time of the show where we make our prediction.
Yes.
I'll go first. I've already said my 450 pick, Ken Roczen. Stamp me for that one. I'm going to go Chase Sexton in that 2 spot, and I'll go Hunter Lawrence third. 250 class, I've kind of already said it again, Hayden Deegan. Hard to bet against the kid now. I'm going to pick Tom Vialle. I think Unadilla is more of a European-style track, just by watching it on TV, kind of hearing what some of the riders have to say about the dirt as well. So I'm going to say Tom Vialle for second, and I want to see Levi Kitchen do good this weekend, so I'm going to put him down for third place.
Yeah, good call, man. I remember Clement DeSalle having a really good race at Unadilla. I think they're called the MX Panda for some reason.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yes, but I remember just a phenomenal race. Like, he was challenging the leaders for the win, whether it was Roczen or Stewart. I remember just being like, wait, what? Like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess Chase Sexton for the race winner for the 450s. Second place, Hunter. Third place, Justin Cooper.
Nice.
I think Roczen's going to be finishing around like 7th overall. I think he's going to have a really good one moto, and the second moto just made me be a little gassed out, just from not just having raced and not say time on the bike, but just replicating those race conditions in a race for it. So I'm going to go with that. And then, gosh, Hayden Deegan, can't count him out. Joe Shimoda
Ooh,
I think just keeps getting better.
We didn't even talk about him
So
much.
I was hoping you were going to say him. So I'm going Joe Shimoda for second, and then Tom Vialle for third, just because. Yeah, that's just what I'm thinking.
Oh, dude, I can't believe I forgot about Joe.
Yeah, no,
Oh my
he just keeps getting
gosh.
better.
Right?
So-
Dang. Well, I already picked my picks, so I'm not gonna go back.
Yeah, he should be a good rider for this weekend too. But I mean, it's coming down to the end, and everybody wants to have a good finish in the championship, which is awesome. So we're going to see some good fight out of people.
That's going to wrap it up for this episode of the JBI preview show, Unadilla edition. If you aren't already subscribed, make sure to subscribe for more race recap, JBI tech tip, or shop talk episodes. We will see you guys in the next one. Have a good night.